So what's going on, everyone? My name is MrDalekJD, and as you've seen from the title, I have a really exciting story video for you here today on Black Ops 4 Zombies, which is going to blow your mind. We're talking about the mobsters from Mob of the Dead. We're talking about Richtofen, all of the stuff involving the ending. It all makes a little bit more sense now, as a new discovery was made very recently on Blood of the Dead, where if you've completed the Easter egg quest inside of the map for the first time, the next time you play the maps, the radios around the map are going to be a little bit different, and we can finally work out that during the silences in some of the radios with the Warden, he was actually speaking to the Shadowman. And this confirms that the Shadowman is inside of Blood of the Dead. If you've seen on the character selection for Blackout, it mentions that the Shadowman is in Black Ops 4, and at that point we suspected maybe we'll see him in the future, but we didn't know exactly how. But this opens up a whole new can of worms. Now, you see from the title, this involves the mobsters and also Richtofen, and the story here is just absolutely mind-blowing. So if you guys are excited by what you're about to learn here, let me know down below in the comment section. Please go ahead and discuss it, and if you enjoyed the video, a like rating would be very much appreciated. But we're all here wanting to know the first questions here. How do the mobsters end up in a continuous cycle in Blood of the Dead? And we now learn from these radios that the Shadowman put Salvador DeLuca, Finn O'Leary, Billy Handsome, and Al Arlington in this cycle. The Shadowman purposely picked these 4 souls to be in the Warden's possession from now and forever, and this was the first stages of transforming the Alcatraz Island. The Shadowman mentions that the sins that these 4 characters have committed will be their undoing, and their eternal punishment through their sacrifice and the Warden's sacrifice will help ensnare another soul, which is Richtofen. The entire existence of Mob of the Dead and now Blood of the Dead was a trap created by the Shadowman to inevitably have Richtofen trapped in here and being used for his purpose. We learn now that the ending of the Easter egg was something that the Shadowman had planned the entire time. The Shadowman planned to kill Edward Richtofen from the very beginning. And for this to happen, this Alcatraz Island needed those 4 particular souls who were just plucked from their normal lives of crime and recklessness, plucked into this dimension of Alcatraz for them to live out a life of eternal purgatory thanks to the sins that shall be their undoing. Already this correlates heavily into Shadows of Evil as well, as the 4 characters placed on that map were plucked by the Shadowman himself and given the mark of the beast so that they could also live out a very similar life. But they were needed all for the artifact which was found in Morgue City. Now, we all know the story of Mob of the Dead. Al Arlington fetches a plan where all of the inmates can leave Alcatraz by creating a plane and flying it off the roof. We know that this always ends up with them being sentenced to electric chair, and eventually the cycle ends with them murdering Al Arlington on the roof. Now, because of this, those 3 remaining are sentenced to death by electric chair. But what we now learn as well is the Warden will soon join them, and that's why we see the Warden's body in the electric chair in the Warden's ritual chamber. He mentions that it will be glorious in this new realm. He has no doubts, but he confesses to the Shadowman that he is afraid. The form he's in right now is weak and has taken to drink, but he does cling to it still. Shadowman proclaims that the Warden is nothing but a pathetic wretch and will grant him nothing until his death. The Warden on Alcatraz has been completely brainwashed by the Shadowman to do his bidding to the distinct detail. This guy does not live for any purpose besides pleasing the Shadowman. Of course, as I mentioned at the start, the Shadowman planned to kill Richtofen from the very beginning and knew that this would be a trap. And the Warden mentions that it will be an honor to serve for the Shadowman before and after the corruption. But the Shadowman says this isn't an honor, this is a purpose, and your life sentence is waiting for Dr. Edward Richtofen to walk into the trap. The entirety of the Alcatraz's purpose of existing is purely to trap Edward Richtofen. The reason? Because the Shadowman knows that his blood holds great power. You can harness it all and open the way to the paradise below the realm of Alcatraz. You can also speculate that what he means by paradise below is actually releasing all of the apothecans from this realm, since it's a pocket dimension, open the dimension up fully to allow them to escape and to travel to all the other dimensions. The Shadowman purposely words it that the Warden will harness all of Richtofen's power in his blood to open the way to the paradise below. We know that this ends up with the dark mechanism, something which sacrifices whoever's inside it. Of course, Richtofen sacrifices himself because his blood is what holds the great power, and as we can tell at the end, Richtofen has died, but his blood still remains in the dark mechanism, which means that his blood could potentially still be used. We know that in the ending, his blood is used at the very least to open up portals that allows the other characters to escape from this reality. But that doesn't mean that the Shadowman hasn't also escaped from the reality. But there is one more radio which contains even more amazing storyline. This third radio mentions that the Warden is about to flip the switch and kill himself by the electric chair. At this point, he is completely blinded by everything that the Shadowman is telling him to do. What is quite comical and adds to the manipulation aspect here is Stanley Ferguson is dealing with men from the Bureau outside of the Warden's office, and he's having conversations with Stanley as well as the Shadowman at the same time. And before he bows out for good, he starts talking very weirdly in a sense that only he and the Shadowman would converse with each other, but now Stanley Ferguson is starting to hear it as well. Mentions of Stanley having to beg for absolution and perhaps he will be as merciful as the Shadowman has been to him. Also mentioning that the darkness shall spread for every fiber of creation, and it shall spread. The Warden's only purpose is to bleed the chosen few so that the gateway will open and paradise will fall. The entire main aspects of Blood of the Dead and Mob of the Dead was a trap made by the Shadowman so that Richtofen could die. This is just an absolute mind-blowing thing to throw into the works of the story. I already have a ton of questions from this now new part of the lore. Why on earth does Richtofen have his lab built under Alcatraz when the whole purpose of Alcatraz is for Richtofen himself to end up dying by the hands of the Shadowman? This also opens a lot more questions as to where the Shadowman is at this point, because as we know, this takes place between Zetsubou and Gorod Krovi. At this point, the Shadowman is trapped within the summoning key, but it seems like throughout all of Black Ops 3 Zombies, the Shadowman doesn't really get any chances to shine. In the first map that we encounter him in, we already trap him and sort of kill him there and then. He does return in Revelations for what seems like the big grand finale, but he gets destroyed again, just like the rest of the Apothecans. So in the cycle, he always loses. So it is in his favor as well at this point to break the cycle and to release himself at an earlier point where he is a lot more stronger with a lot more power than just him coming out of the summoning key. This also asks a ton of questions on what's going to happen with the finale of this map, because it's all leading down to our characters defeating Dr. Monty, and that Dr. Monty is an evil person. But I think a lot of us forgot that the Shadowman is still in that summoning key that post-Revelations Richtofen takes from our premise Richtofen before he passes away. Not only is the Shadowman in that, but we know that the Shadowman was in this entire realm. During the boss fight, we see the Warden mentioning a ton of Apothecan language, which could only come from the Shadowman himself. The jump scare in Blood of the Dead is of the Shadowman. This whole thing reeks of the Shadowman, and now we know fully that it was the Shadowman that killed Edward Richtofen. He planned it from the very beginning, and the whole existence of the 4 mobsters were to kill them just to trap Edward Richtofen. That is insane to me. And it also makes the ending even more lovely when we do find out that the spirits that have been helping us, and the birds specifically, are the 4 prisoners that are finally free from the events of Richtofen sacrificing himself. But that still doesn't make things any sadder here. Richtofen fell right into a trap, and for the first time in a long time, this is something which I don't think he predicted was going to happen. It's unsure right now if the Chronorium would even predict such a move, and the whole purpose of them going there was that the Shadowman trapped him. In the original cycle that we play through in Black Ops 3, the characters visit Blood of the Dead simply for a few seconds to collect the blood vials that relate to our Victor's crew. Even before then, Richtofen goes to Mob of the Dead to get the 2 blood vials from the 2 prisoners. So it seems the entire thing was actually set up from the Shadowman from the very beginning, and that is just completely mind-blowing. I'd love to know down below in the comment section, what do you guys think of all this? Because it is incredible. I'm going to leave the video here by playing the 3 radios that are on the map, which you can listen to once you have completed the main Easter egg quest for the first time on Blood of the Dead. I'm going to have subtitles on the screen, everything like that. But earlier today, literally a few hours before this video going live, I uploaded a video of a brand new solved Easter egg on 9, which is to do with a bunch of skulls around the map, giving us a secret message. So I do advise you to check that out, as you may have missed it amongst all of this exciting Shadowman hype in Blood of the Dead. So that will be linked down below in the description or as an interactive card, and it will be on the end of the video as a clickable end card for you to watch. But enjoy these radios, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I'd love to get a discussion going. And if you enjoyed, click that thumbs up button. But thank you for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.
No! Contraption!
Hear me.
Yes, I can hear you. Apologies, my lord. I am here.
Calm, faithful warden, calm. I bring glad news. The world that you seek is near at hand.
Oh, thank you, my lord. Thank you. I've done my best to prepare the way. Please, where are you now?
Hidden. Trapped. Waiting.
I see. Tell me what I must do.
4 souls in your possession, 4 arriving soon. With the first, you will transform the island. Salvatore DeLuca, Finn O'Leary, Billy Handsome, Al Arlington.
Salvatore, Finn, Billy, Al. Yes, my lord, I know these names.
Their sins shall be their undoing. Their eternal punishment through your sacrifice will ensnare another. His ultimate reckoning.
A trap for another. Forgive my ignorance, lord, but how will I know what to do?
Sir, it's me, Stanley. We have a situation.
Damn the situation, Ferguson. You handle it. I am not to be disturbed.
Wait. Listen.
I'm real sorry to interrupt your prayers, sir, but there's been a murder up on the roof. It's Al Arlington.
Arlington?
Yes, sir. Part of some kind of botched escape attempt. We got Sal DeLuca and his 2 cronies in custody. Looks like it was them.
I'll be right there.
I'll be right there. My lord, I entreat thee to speak. I have done as you asked. The remaining 3 of the first 4 shall die by electric chair this evening, and soon after I shall join them. It will be glorious in this new realm, Lord, I have no doubt, but I confess, I am afraid. This form is weak and has taken to drink, but I do cling to it still. Please, grant me the strength to...
Grant you the strength? Oh, you poor, pathetic wretch. I will grant you nothing until your death. You know this.
Yes, my lord, of course. My life is part of the disease, and the disease must be purged. I rejoice that that day has come.
But you are a base, disgusting creature that cannot help fearing for its own skin. It is not your fault.
Oh, thank you for saying so, my lord. Truth be told, I long for the miracle that will release me.
That's a good lad. You have been an adequate servant. Therefore you will continue to serve after the corruption.
Such an honor for me.
Not an honor. A purpose. Your life's sentence. Waiting for Dr. Edward Richtofen to walk into the trap.
The Doctor. I've heard mention of him amongst the Illuminati. What would you have of him?
His blood holds great power. You will harness it all and open the way to the paradise below.
I swear, my lord, it will be done.
And one more thing.
Name it, my lord.
Spare him no pain.
Yes, Richtofen shall suffer. The time has come. The sponge is wet on my crown. The cap screws tightened. The switch in my hand. Oh, I'm going to burn. Oh, the fools. They want justice for the toll I've extracted from this forsaken island.
Sir, there's some men from the Bureau here. I stalled them as long as I could, but they're on their way to your office now. What do you want me to tell them?
Justice? There is no such thing. There's only the will of the Dark One.
Okay. I'll just tell them you're not feeling so well then, yeah?
Do as you wish. Run, hide, beg for absolution, and perhaps he will be merciful, as he has been with me.
Shh. Do not weep, my dear Warden.
My lord, you're here.
Of course, more or less. The threshold awaits, my friend.
Yes. Yes, the threshold. One last flash of light, and the sun shall vanish into the sea.
And the darkness?
The darkness shall spread. Through every fiber of creation it shall spread.
Listen, I told you, he ain't here. He went to see some special doc on the mainland. You guys are wasting your time.
I shall be its instrument.
Oh, come on, guys, cut me a break.
I shall bleed the chosen few.
Better hurry.
The gateway will open, and paradise will fall. Ah!
Yeah. See there? What'd I tell you? Nobody's home. Nothing here.